host, Sean Aaron, and welcome to Dem Bois Podcast. This show is a platform where trans men of color voices can be amplified as we share our transitional stories and many other issues that are relatable to trans men of color in our existence. This show is not only to amplify our voices, but to raise awareness and conversation around our lived experiences.
My next guest I had the privilege to sit down with is a strength and nutrition coach, fitness trainer, and they are helping LGBTQ people build strength, muscle, and confidence. Within this episode, we discussed them changing their name as a teenager. We talked about pronouns and gender identity. We also got into fitness and health, and also motivation to help you get healthy and to stay healthy. This is a really good episode. Hope you enjoy. Hey, this is Sean Aaron, the host of Dem Bois Podcast. Are you enjoying the podcast so far? Great. I'm glad that you are. Would you consider donating today to help support the continuation of this podcast? As you know, this podcast aims to serve as a platform to highlight and amplify the voices of trans men of color and share our transition stories. The podcast not only aims to amplify trans men of color voices, but it also raises awareness around our lived experiences. You would like to donate? Where can you donate? Great. I'm glad that you asked. Link in our description will take you directly to Network for Good, whom we've partnered with in order to collect donations for the podcast. Or you can visit our website. On the website, click the donate button, and from there, you are able to donate directly to the podcast. All donations are tax deductible. What does the donations go to? Oh, I'm glad that you asked. Your donation will help to support our production costs. We are working with Jasmine from Pink Lady Productions that brings you this awesome content. And also, we pay our guests an honorarium. Pay our guests an honorarium? Yes, we do. Why? Because as trans men of color, we would like to support and uplift each other and honor the time that's given out to come here and share their stories. So if you love this podcast, share and donate. See you on the next episode. Take care. Welcome to Dem Bois Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Aaron, he, him, his. And my next guest is a fitness trainer, a nutrition coach, and they are helping LGBT people build strength, muscle, and confidence. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, well, I mean, you did such a good job introducing me already. But my name's Landyn. I live in Brooklyn, New York currently. I am a fitness and nutrition coach. All of my clients are queer and trans, which is, a choice that I made deliberately to serve my own community. And it's a really awesome job, and it's really awesome to be here.
Awesome. I can't wait to get into that. So the name Landyn, how did that name choose you?
Yeah. So, when I was a kid, I did theater, and I was like, I want to be like a famous actor and like all this stuff, which is so funny because I've totally lost like any acting talent if I ever had any. But I was like, I need a stage name. And I always thought that my old name was just too feminine. And so I actually changed my name before I came out as trans. Basically, I chose it because I felt like it was like kind of a boy's name, but it didn't sound like super masculine. And I spelled it with a Y also to kind of just mix it up a little bit and maybe change how the gender read.
So you wanted to be an actor. What happened?
What happened? I mean, interests change, I guess, like I became more of a behind the camera person for a while, before full-time changing my career into fitness. Like I did professional photography and like video production as well. So for a long time, I was just a behind the camera person.
Gotcha. Is that something that you would prefer? Or you just really wish, do you have that desire? You like, oh, I really wish I would have been an actor, or I really wish I had a gig. That's something that
not anymore, because I've gotten asked to audition for things, and it's like I'll try it and it just doesn't really hit the same anymore. Yeah, that's how I would put it.
So your heart is not in it anymore.
Yeah, well, it's like I did drama when I was in like middle school and early high school. So, right, I changed my name when I was 14. So, or 15. Yeah. So, but I was considering the name change when I was 14. I remember like walking down the hall, like talking to my friends about like, my new name and like the different ideas that I had and stuff like that. So acting was really an early part of my life that it didn't even stick like throughout all of high school. So, because by then I just found other hobbies.
Got you.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. I've never heard anyone say they've changed their name that young. So that just helps me transition to our next thing. So like, please share like your transition story from beginning till now.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think, I was always like a tomboy, I guess. So I feel like I kind of have that more typical like trans narrative that people see on the news, I guess, especially in the beginning, right? It's like this child that didn't fit in to the gender that they were assigned as, not liking my feminine name, changing it early on, sort of under the guise of like, oh, it's going to be like my new acting name and all this stuff. But, when I changed my name, so that I don't remember when I exactly cut my hair, but it was also like I asked my parents to cut my hair, and I was like, oh, like I just want to try it once. And my stepdad, we were on like a short vacation. It was like I grew up in Seattle. We were on vacation in Portland, so that's like the next state over. So we were just on this short vacation, and my stepdad took me to this salon, and I was like, yeah, I just want to like try it, like, I just want to try it. And he's like, oh, I don't know, maybe you should ask your mom and like all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, mom said I could try it once. So, I got this haircut, and I was like, oh, I could always grow it back if I don't like it and all this stuff. I got this really dramatic, like long to short haircut. And of course, like how the salon was treating it is like, oh, like, pixie cuts are super in now. Like, girls with short hair, like that's like a thing that's like popping up. So they were all really complimenting my hair, but it was like, that's funny. It's like, I remember that. It's like, I got that short haircut and I just like never grew my hair out again after that. But, I think that was summer before, that has to have been the summer before I came into my sophomore year, because I came into my sophomore year of high school, new name, new hair. I had always dressed pretty masculine anyway, but I think over the summer I also discovered like binders. So I was binding. So I kind of just came into school like a new person, and people just kind of accepted it. Honestly, like some of my friends were like, oh, like this makes a lot of sense. Like, I feel like your new name really fits you and like all that stuff. And it just kind of went from there. I was really lucky because I grew up in Seattle, and in the area, there were a lot of really great programs for queer youth. And so around that time, I think it was 2010. So, after my freshman year, I had one queer friend. So it was like, I was one of the first people out in my school. There was this other kid who was the first person out. This other kid was the first person out. I was like one of the first people out, maybe like, the second or the third, right? So this kid and I, we were best friends at the time. We were both masculine presenting queer people. And, they're also AFAB. And then later on they transitioned as well. But back then they hadn't yet. So me and this friend of mine, we would just go hang out. We would hang out together all the time. We'd go shopping together. We went to some pride events together, and we got past this flyer for like a queer youth filmmaking camp. And so I don't know why he didn't go. I felt like he got in trouble with his parents a lot, and then like would be grounded a lot. But I went to this camp, and it really just changed everything for me, because I was around so many other queer youth, right, from all these different other schools and stuff like that. I was around queer adults as well, because the mentors at the program. And it was just a very key experience for me. And from that point on, I just became a lot more queer and open about it. Those kids that I met at the camp, during the school year, like I would still stay in touch with them. And then of course it's like they would have their queer friends from their school. So I would meet the other queer kids from the other schools. And it kind of just snowballed from there, right? I guess at the camp, I was exposed to other sort of identities. I think when I was just at my home high school, it was just kind of like being gay or like being straight and bi. Maybe I didn't really think about gender too much. When I was at that camp and through meeting the different people I then met, like, as a result of that throughout that sophomore school year, I just learned a lot more about gender queer, people using they, them pronouns. So I just started, playing around with different pronouns as well. And I had a really great time doing that, to be honest. I was really androgynous as a teen, right? Different places, different people would refer to me as different pronouns. And like, I just really enjoyed that, being called she and he and they in like different spaces. I just really felt like a chameleon. Is that the animal that like changes colors? Yeah. And it was so interesting to reflect on because, people really treat you differently based on what they think you are in these different situations. Right. So, yeah.
So, and that's a young age too, right? We don't really hear folks being able to explore themselves at such a young age. So let me ask, are your parents very supportive of who you are?
They weren't in the beginning. I felt like I had to do a lot of sneaking around. It's like my mom, I grew up with my mom and my stepdad. My stepdad was just kind of a hands-off type of guy. Like, so it's like his opinions on this kind of didn't really matter too much. Plus he would never say anything out loud to me anyway. So it's like, whatever his opinions are, to be honest, I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know what his opinions were. He passed away already. Before he passed away, I already knew that he fully accepted everything. And same with my mom now at this point. But back when I was a teenager, she would always say like, you shouldn't only hang out with queer people. She would have that classic like, oh, are you queer because, these people that you're hanging around are influencing you and all this stuff. She would definitely say that. But she wasn't like the worst person. Like I had heard about other people whose parents would like throw away their binders and like all this stuff and really try to restrict that. But it's like, my mom would be like, I don't understand why you want to do that. Stop wearing it. But she didn't go into my closet and throw anything away. You know what I mean? So it's like, no, she didn't like it, but it was like, I had enough of my own freedom. Like when I was hanging out outside of the house to like explore all of this queerness anyway. So, yeah.
So let's go back a little bit because you mentioned AFAB. And so I identify as transmasculine. And a lot of times when folks transition, they think that, oh, you have to be one way or another. Like, oh, I can only transition and I have to be a transmasculine man.
Yeah, definitely.
So do you want to discuss a little bit more about that?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, and I think like, so I'm non-binary today and I use they, them pronouns now. But for like a good 5 or so years, I used he, him pronouns. And, I said that as a teenager, I really enjoyed using different pronouns. But then, I wanted to physically transition and it really did feel like that. And I don't know if it was conscious or subconscious, right? Like people's, identities are always evolving. But yeah, I really did feel like a trans man at some point in my life. Though it just seemed like, well, I guess, back then in the early 2010s, like the people that transitioned were identifying as binary trans people, right? So like for me, like, it's like, oh, if I want to transition, then I must be that. But now today, there's a lot of people that identify as a lot of different things and are still getting top surgery and taking T and stuff like that. So it's like, it's no longer like this one identity comes with this set of behaviors and actions that you have to do. It's a lot more free now, right? But at the time, I just didn't have that. So yeah, so I identified as a trans man for a little bit. Started hormones and got top surgery when I was 19. And then from that time till I was not till like right before the pandemic that I changed, or no, during the pandemic, I changed my pronouns again because I just felt like boxed in yet again, right? It's like, when you realize you're a trans person is usually when you're frustrated by being boxed in, at least for me, frustrated by being boxed in with, all of like the conventions that are associated with being a girl. And then it was like, well, now I'm feeling all these confines and expectations for being a guy. And I just felt like, why do the things that I like have to be associated with guys' things? Like, why can't I just like things because they're just things that I like? Mm-hmm. So I felt like, the they, them pronouns and like the non-binary identity label for me was just more freeing in that sense. It's like, I am a masculine person. And yes, a lot of the things that I do kind of do just line up with maybe some typical guy things like working out, video games, things like that. But it's just like, yeah, I just didn't like being labeled in that way. So now with how I see myself now, it's a lot more freeing. And I feel like I have more freedom then to explore even other sort of interests too, without feeling like, oh, I need to follow these conventions of being a man or being a guy.
Is there any advice that you would give someone if maybe, they want to maybe a youth and they want to transition, but they don't want to fit into this masculine box or any other box? Like, what would be your advice for someone to kind of like be able to explore who they are and their pronouns and how they identify with themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I think just remembering that like there really aren't any rules, right? Like you don't really have to be anything other than yourself. And it's like you can have your own gender categories if you want to. And it's just like, yeah, anything that feels authentic, just let your heart follow that. And then you'll discover who you really are.
And also with that, I want to say, like, a lot of times we hear folks that transition, and the story starts out with, oh, I always knew I like women, or I knew I like girls, and I identified as a lesbian. Mm-hmm. But for you, like, how did you get your trans identity? How was it mentally for you versus your attraction to others? So when did that shift happen for you mentally?
Yeah, it was always together for me. I mean, I always knew I liked girls as well. And I did identify as a lesbian at some point, but then it was like I'd be in these relationships or these hookups and not really feel like I was like a lesbian that much. I'm like, why do I feel like I'm like a guy in like a queer relationship with a queer woman? Like, so then it just started to get like, what is this? Like, and that definitely prompted me to look into my gender feelings more. Cause then it's like, I don't really feel like this loving woman situation applies to me. It's like, why do I feel like a guy and I'm just dating lesbians? Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So what does your support system look like now, as far as like your mom or like friends, family?
Yeah. I mean, I would say, my support system has always been friends. I just felt like, even though my mom just visited me actually, so all this is pretty fresh. It's like, I do a lot of work trying to educate my mom on everything. And she's 64. So she learns like one new queer concept like a year. And that's it. And I have to keep kind of reminding her over and over again. We're able to get in way deeper conversations when we're in person with each other, but we only visit each other. We only see each other once a year in person, right? So it just doesn't get to happen as much on the phone. But yeah, my support system, I feel like, has always been friends and community. When I was a youth, it was all those other queer adults in these different programs that I was a part of. And I was in more after that too. I was in and then some of the things weren't really explicitly queer. Like I did a photography program. It's like these things aren't explicitly queer, but you put something that's like artistic together in a city, queer people are going to be teaching it, of course, right? So it's like I did a photography program. Some of those people were queer. I did like a film festival thing. And it's like, even if it wasn't explicitly queer, it's like they're all used to queer people and they're very accepting. Like there's no weird questions asked, right? Like it's like they just accept you for who you are, and like that's it. It's like not even that relevant to what you're doing, I guess. Well, I guess like it could be, but it's like they don't make it a big deal unless you want to make it a big deal, which I always appreciated. And now, as an adult, I mean, I've always been like this. It's like I've always just been around queer people, and my mom has been asking, when she was here, she was asking me about some of my older friends. from like middle school and high school. And I told her like, all of them have since come out as queer. Even if, and some of the people that have come out as queer were even a little bit of a surprise to me. But then when I think about it, also not a surprise, because it's like, even in my adult life, it's like anybody that vibes with me is a queer person. Like even the coworkers that I've had where I'm like, oh, like, yeah, I mean, I guess this person's like, a cool straight girl or whatever. Like they'll later tell me like, oh yeah, like I'm bi and like all this stuff. So it's like everybody, I think like anybody that vibes with my energy is always going to be at least a little bit queer. So I definitely like that about myself, because it's just like everywhere I go, something about my energy just draws the community to me and shuts out the people that I'm not going to get along with anyway. So
yeah, that's kind of cool. So you got that attraction, that queer attraction energy.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of queer people do, right? It's just, when I told my mom that, she was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, because it's like people are drawn to each other for some reason. And it's like, as, sometimes it might be subconscious. Why do I get along with this person? Oh, it's because like, I don't feel like they would judge me for not being a conventional, X, Y, and Z. And that's why we became friends. So, yeah. So, I'm always surrounded by queer community, and I always will be. I'm so happy to have aligned my career to something that's also within the community, because that was really the last thing before I had this full time, right? It was just that like, well, you work with cishet still. But now it's like, now it's like, I don't really even know anybody that's like straight. So
yeah, let's get on that then. So so you train and you specifically work with LGBTQ people, right?
Yeah.
How did your fitness journey start?
Well, it's so interesting because, and I didn't really reflect on this again until years later, but my very first day of tea, I took a video. My friend took a video of me just asking me questions of like, how does it feel? Like, what do you want on tea and all this stuff. So that way I could look back on it later. Right. And one of the things that I said was like, I'm really looking forward to building muscle, because at the time I was super, super skinny. I was like 100 pounds, probably less than in high school. I was probably like 90 something pounds. Right. I wore like size 00 jeans. So I was like a really tiny person. So I had said that, but then it just didn't happen. I went to college in Southern California, which Southern California is like kind of this birthplace for bodybuilding in America, right? Like you think about Gold's Gym, right? Muscle Beach and all this stuff. So everybody was really into gym culture where I went to school. All the guys were like buff and would wear tank tops all the time. And I think that actually turned me off from fitness, because I was like, I don't want to be like one of these like straight dude bro, like frat guys. So I just didn't really take that seriously. I did work out for one semester. And I saw a little bit of gains that way, but I just couldn't keep it up, because I was in college and I just didn't really. You need to have the life skills and the discipline to do something like this. And in college, most people just don't have that. I just didn't have that. And I also like couldn't keep up with like all the cooking and stuff like that. I didn't know how to cook at all, really. So it was like the nutrition was not there. Workouts fell off, was not disciplined. Also, wasn't that drawn to the scene because of all the frat guys that worked out. Yeah, it was never really that big of a priority for me. One day, one of my friends and I, we worked together. We were just sitting together. We ate a lot of fast food all the time. And we just kind of had a chat with each other. And it was just like, yeah, like we both don't necessarily feel healthy, right? I was like, I don't feel like I've really worked out intentionally in like 3 years. And like, this is just not the way to go. And so she was like, her brother was literally a frat guy at the time. She was like, yeah, like my brother's this like fratty, like dude bro guy. Like he loves lifting though. And like, he says to check out this routine. So we just got like a free routine from online. It was strong lifts 5x5, very simple. And we just did that together. And I was also like, I feel like I have always kind of wanted a more muscular body. So let me see if I could, do this. So I started taking the food part seriously. And so me and my coworker would go together after work 3 times a week. Worked really well to have a workout buddy. And I took my food seriously. And then, yeah, I started seeing gains. I started gaining a pound a week, not a pound a week, a pound a month, which is, if you're 100 pounds, you gain 5 pounds. That's a big difference. So yeah, I started gaining a pound a month. And, after a while, people started noticing I really liked the results. And then, yeah, after a couple months, I was just like, yeah, I think I'm going to do this for like ever. I think it just has stuck. And I also just became, after I kind of graduated from strong lifts 5x5, because it's so simple. It's just bench press, deadlift, rows, overhead press, and squats. After I graduated that, I'm like, what else is there? I just became so obsessed with like the science of exercise. I would be watching, I think I got like YouTube, like the YouTube like subscription where you could download videos. I got that just so I could download like videos and watch like YouTube videos about fitness, like on the train without Wi-Fi and stuff like that. So I would buy books, and then I got more into meal prep, got better cooking skills. Right at the time, I only knew how to cook like 3 or 4 things. And then I really expanded since then. So I just got so obsessed with trying to get better and better results. And it just stuck. It just became a lifestyle after that.
Hey, this is Sean Aaron. I'm the founder and executive director of Dem Bois Inc. I am also the host of Dem Bois Podcast. As you may know, Dem Bois provides financial assistance to trans men of color in order for them to obtain gender affirming surgery. We have great news. We're currently looking for volunteers to help support our programs. Our programs include our gender affirming surgery grant program and also our personal care package program. We personally curate packages filled with personal hygiene items. Just to name a few, things like tissue, soap, towels, toothpaste, and toothbrushes. We mail them out to trans men of color across the country who may be in need of help caring for their personal hygiene needs. We are looking for volunteers to help raise funds to support our programs. Also, we're looking for someone locally to the Bay Area to help us put all of the care packages together. If our mission is something that resonates with you and you would like to help support our work, just let us know. You can send an email to hello@dembois.org. That is HELLO@DEMBOIS.org. And we will get back to you with further details. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the next episode. So let's clear this up, because like a lot of folks think that, oh, because I'm skinny, I'm healthy. And you just said that you were pretty small, but you felt unhealthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, definitely. And this is something that I've talked about before, where it's like fat phobia, it kind of hurts everybody, right? Because then people make that assumption that you're skinny, so you don't need to do anything. And then a lot of people are thin and unhealthy, and they don't even pay attention to that. So before I started working out, I had horrible eating habits. I didn't know how to cook. And I live in New York, so I would just get takeout every day. And I would eat half of that for dinner, half of that for like lunch the next day or something like that. And then I also worked on a set, on a TV set. So, they have Crafty, so there's snacks, free snacks and stuff every day. And it'd always be pastries, chips, candy, things like Gushers, like things like that were delicious, but don't have any nutritional value. So I would just eat that every day, and it was free. So how could I say no to that? And yeah, like one of my other coworkers who knew me before the workout period, and we're still friends. I'm seeing her this Friday, and the person that I worked out with, we're all hanging out. But the person that worked with me before, like, she was like, yeah, I can't believe this. Like, you used to eat hot Cheetos and hot chocolate like for breakfast, and now you're like this like health person and you've like switched careers and all this stuff. Like, it's just incredible. But yeah, I had also like, and I didn't think that this was a problem because I didn't really eat like candy or like pastries or like cupcakes or anything like that. So I was like, oh, I don't eat that much sugar, but I just didn't have an understanding of what that was. But I drank a lot of juice. So I drank a lot of juice and I ate a lot of carbs. And so my blood sugar was like actually like pre-diabetic as well. And it's like, thinness and body type, a lot of that is just genetic. Like, I was just skinny despite eating a bunch of like random things because like my parents are just thin people. Like, that's just the truth of it, and that's my body type. So yeah, definitely did not feel healthy then at all.
Yeah. So, and there are people that could be overweight and still are healthy, right? And not be pre-diabetic and all of these
Absolutely.
things. Yeah. So people,
Absolutely.
yeah.
What I've learned is that it has less to do with your weight and more to do with, whether or not you're moving and exercising, right? Like, it's like if you're a large person who exercises regularly and eats well, you're probably healthier than a thin person that doesn't move often. So that's just how it is at the end of the day. If you take care of yourself well, if you eat, nutritious things and you nourish your body and you move your body, you're going to be good.
Mm. So you are a fitness trainer. So how did you start to cater to LGBTQ people? I know you said that you kind of like attract people, but like, how did you specifically say, you know what, this group of people is who I want to focus on the most?
It was always like that from the get-go. Just because, like, through all of my research, it's all like for cishet people, right? And there's so many assumptions about what you want, right? It's like, oh yeah, like men want to have this, women want to have that. And it's like not necessarily always true. Like, okay, well, some guys do want to have like big butts and like stuff like that, right? Or like strong thighs and things like that. So it just like I loved the science and the research and the things that I was learning, but it's just like this stuff is just not for me. And I know that, I was turned off from fitness because of how straight it was, right? Like I said, in college, like I was really turned off from that. So I know other people are turned off from it too. And it was like, to me, fitness really changed my life more than just the looks, right? Like that was the first initial draw, but it's like what it gave me also was just this sense of confidence in my body that I didn't have before. And with that also a grander sense of adventure, right? Because then it became like, well, what else can I do? And then I started trying new things that just really expanded my worldview and my perception of what I wanted to do with my life and what what enjoying my life meant to me. So it opened so many doors for me. And I just thought about, as a queer person, if someone is queer and they're shut off from fitness or from lifting weights and building muscle because they view it as this really straight, really cis, and really inaccessible thing that's not for them, then it's like they might not get to that point where I got to, where it's unlocking all these new, views and possibilities for them. And it's like, I, want to help people live a life that feels full to them. And so, my community has always been queer and trans folks. So it was like a no-brainer that that's who I would serve as well.
So how do you help shift somebody's mind frame from that being turned off from the gym because of the bro culture? And so say if someone's like, I want to work out, I would love to work out with you, but you all the way in Brooklyn and I'm over here in New Mexico.
Yeah.
But I still feel turned off by fitness. Like, what would be your motivation to someone to get started?
Yeah. I mean, I think, a lot of people, and I do have clients all over the country and different time zones and also in other countries as well. And for a lot of them, especially, right, if they live somewhere like New Mexico or Wyoming, and I do have clients there, it's like maybe there's not a lot of other queer spaces there. And sometimes all it takes is knowing that there are other people like you doing what you want to do. And so, I have group calls. I have like a community chat group for my clients. Like they can be connected to each other if they want and stuff like that. So it's just like they get to see that there are other people like them who have similar goals. And sometimes that's enough to power them through it. But really, it's just like getting used to just focusing in on yourself and knowing that you deserve to be in these spaces. Because I think, what happens is people get intimidated by others. But, one of my clients has told me too, it's like the more you go to the gym, you realize that like they're not really doing the form like properly either, right? So it's just like the more you go, the easier it gets. Either that, or you got to be willing to invest in a nice home gym setup. I get it. If going to the gym really is too much and you just want to keep honing it in yourself, then you just gotta save up and invest in that home gym.
Yeah, I work out too. And so one of the techniques that I do at the gym, and I'm really shy. Don't even worry about this podcast. I'm in real life, I'm shy, right? And so when I go to the gym, I'm always self-conscious of people looking at me and my body and what I'm doing or whatever, just whatever, right? Just previous trauma. But one thing that I do when I go to the gym is like, especially when I'm lifting, I close my eyes. I try to not focus on who's looking at me. I try not to focus on anybody else. And I just try to get that mind to muscle connection, and I tune everything out. I got my music on and I'm enjoying myself. So what other techniques would you kind of like recommend somebody to do to kind of like hone into that?
I mean, exactly that. It's like, don't listen to the gym shitty music. Like, you got to get the nice headphones.
Yes.
Yeah. And really just like plug into yourself, right? Like, if you really don't want anybody to look at you, just like put a hoodie on. Like, and just like notice, like, you know, when you look at other people, what are you thinking? Probably nothing. Like, sometimes I'll look at somebody else doing exercise and it's like, I'm not even staring at them. I'm actually just spacing out. So it's just like, kind of think about, it's like, you know, when you see other people, you're not really judging them. So most likely when they see you, they're not judging you either. And then another thing, another mindset shift also is, you know, when you catch yourself having those thoughts of like, oh, this person, you know, or these people are here to judge me. Think like, you know, you're a person that has specific goals and you're working on the betterment of yourself, right? So you just think like, okay, all these other people around me are here to work on themselves and you know, create a better version of themselves as well. And then I feel like, you know, that kind of puts a positive spin on that.
I know also I always, when I look at people too, I do the same thing as you. I kind of like, I'm looking, but I'm not really looking. Sometimes I'm just looking right through you because I'm just in my own zone. But then sometimes when I see people, I try to think of like a way of like, maybe today is their first day. Like if you see somebody doing something wrong in the gym, everybody starts from somewhere, right? You started from this person that was really thin until now you look nice. Your physique is really nice. If someone saw your Instagram page and your pictures and you look nice, right? But then I always think like maybe today is just their first day. You know, it starts from somewhere and you know, and hopefully they continue to show up and put in the work, but maybe it's their first day. So yeah.
Oh wait, I had another thing to add. So like, you know how like on Instagram or like on TikTok, like there's been that trend of like people just doing like the wildest shit at the gym where it's like they're like riding like the bike machine like and they're like lifting like a couch or like, you know, they're like they have a bench strapped to their belt. Yeah. So it's like, you know, so when people bring up sort of these resistances to the gym, and I'll ask questions to dig deeper and sort of explore that. So, you know, I'm like, you know, what do you think people are thinking? Or like, what are you afraid that people are thinking? And the most common one is, you know, I'm scared that people are going to think that I look stupid. And I'm like, listen, a beginner does not look stupid at the gym, right? There are a lot of beginners at the gym. Probably half the people there are new. What does look stupid are those people in those types of Instagram and TikTok videos, right? And I've seen stuff like that in person where it's like, yeah, someone's trying to like lift 2 barbells, like one in each hand, like they're dumbbells, and it just like topples over and then they topple over. I've literally seen that in person. It's like, nobody thinks you're stupid. Like what's really stupid is that.
Yeah. And it's like, stop playing around at the gym. Just stop playing.
Yeah. It's like, okay, let people use the equipment like how it's supposed to be used.
Right, exactly.
It's like, yeah. So
yeah, I've seen a guy doing a pull-up with like a couch attached to his like waist type thing. Like that's insane.
Yeah. Where did you even get that? Like how many people did it take to get that into the gym? Like distracting everybody, taking up space, wasting their time, wasting your time because it's not effective.
Right.
So yeah, it's just so goofy.
I mean, well, hats off to you because if you could do a pull-up with a couch on you, I mean, that takes some strength. But then if you're not it's silly because it causes injury and it's giving like this false hope or false like narrative of what the gym is supposed to be like. And that's not really what it's supposed to be like. It's not about fun and games. Get in there, do what you're supposed to do, use the equipment, share the space and get out.
It's not supposed to be a place to show off. And I think that's another fear that people have too, is that like, they're like, I just don't like the gym because, you know, all these guys are always like posing in front of the mirror and like all this stuff. And it's like, well, for that, I try to kind of explain like, you know, posing does have some actual practical uses as well, right? Learning mind muscle connection. I learned, you know, my lat mind muscle connection through learning posing. And it's like, you don't really have to be competing in bodybuilding. You don't have to do it perfectly, but it does help. So, you know, sometimes if you don't know the conclusion or the answer to something, you have to make something up, like to just like help you move on, right? Just tell yourself that they're doing that to activate their muscles, like to practice that.
Yeah.
So
or do like I do and just close your eyes.
yeah, just close your eyes. I mean, that's a great one too. So
Yeah.
anything to tune into your own world.
Yeah. So what if somebody would like to work with you? Are you accepting new clients?
Yeah, I am accepting new clients for sure.
Really? So how can somebody reach out to you?
You can send me a DM. You can hit the link in my bio. Yeah, I run a 12-week program first, and then after that, you know, you can renew into the legacy program, or you could be good after that. It's all about setting up a routine. I think that's a hard part for people, changing your mindset, and then just learning a lot about learning the basics about fitness, about nutrition, and basically laying out the foundation.
And it takes time, right? It's not something that happens overnight. Because I know I used to be close to 300 pounds.
Oh,
and
wow.
So, yeah. And I'm
Okay.
5'3". Well, I'm lying.
Yeah.
I'm actually 5'2". I tell people I'm 5'3", but that don't matter. So, but on my small frame, that's a lot of weight. But it took many, many years of like trying something new. So, right, it started off with not drinking juice or like drinking more water. Like it's like baby steps, right? It takes time, it takes years, it takes dedication. Like this is a life commitment. It's not just, all right, I'm gonna get my beach body in 3 weeks. Nah, that's not how this works.
No. Yeah, and that's what I explain, you know, in the beginning of the program, depending on their goals. Like, it's like, well, you know, what you want, it's probably going to take all year. But, you know, start here and take the first like 12 weeks to just build the foundation to set you up for success. Because the reason why so many people get coaches is because they tell me they fall, you know, they're on and they fall off. They're on and they fall off. So it's like, let's fix that first. Because if you don't fix that, it'll always be like that forever. And you'll never get anything to stick. So
that's good. So are you trying to compete or anything like that? Or is this just like, this is your life choice that you want to live healthy, eat healthy, a healthier life?
I think it's more the latter. You know, I've definitely thought about training in a more specific way and competing. But at the end of the day, it's like, what is that really worth? I have questions about the health of bodybuilding for sure. Because effectively, it kind of is like yo-yo dieting, right? Like, I don't think that it's the healthiest. That's why people who compete in bodybuilding, they don't really even compete every year unless they're really on the pro level. Like, because it's like you have to like go through a period of recovery after a competition because your body fat percentage was so low, and that's like not good for you to be in. So like a part of me, yes, wants to do it one time just to really go through that full experience and really understand it. Because it is something that I have a lot of respect for. Not everybody is cut out for that. That takes a very special type of person, and it takes the highest level of discipline that you could possibly have with fitness and nutrition. So part of me does want to do it once, but part of me is just like, I don't know, you know, I don't know if that's worth it for me. And that's more of my audience as well, as people that want to work on, general health, feeling connected to themselves, feeling, you know, more gender euphoria and stuff like that. And usually it's like people don't need to build like a massive dramatic change for that. They just need to build like some muscle, or even just the act of working out itself, I think helps a lot of people feel connected, right? You talked about mind muscle connection. I feel like, you know, I feel like that really helps, is that it brings you present into yourself. And that's not something that I feel like trans people feel all the time, at least not, especially not in the earlier parts of someone's transition. So, yeah.
And it's actually really good for your mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I think right now I'm more interested in, you know, just like looking good, staying healthy, you know, things like that. And like, it's the extremes are always tempting to me, but I've always been a person about balance. So yeah, it's all about balance for me at the end of the day.
And so on your Instagram page, you always you post a lot of like videos, a lot of advice. You just had a video recently about how to eat healthy when you travel. So like, how do you come up with like these videos and ideas and how to motivate people?
You know, that's a good question. I'm still figuring that out myself. I definitely want to make more content, you know, but normally it's just like me trying to think of, all right, like, what are my clients going through right now? What would be helpful to them, right? Because it's like my clients are kind of, they're pretty much the target demo. It's like if I get new clients, they're going to be similar to my old clients or my current ones. So it's like, what would like a trans person want to know about fitness? What do queer and trans people struggle with fitness wise, like, and mindset wise in that regard, things like that. So sometimes I'll just take, if somebody asked me a question, like one of my clients asked me a direct question and I'm like, oh, I think more people would benefit from hearing this, and then I'll make a video about that.
So is there like any last bit of advice that you would like to give to someone that's listening?
Well, I would say for fitness, you have to just fall in love with the lifestyle. So many people want the body and they don't want to take the lifestyle seriously. But it's less about, chasing a result. It's more about embracing the process, becoming the type of person who does and looks like, the type of person that you want to be. So it's like, if you're able to just be into the process, put your head down, do the work, those results are going to come. But, like you said, it takes a long time. So it's like, that's just kind of the tactic that I have people use. Otherwise, it's like, you're going to want to quit when you don't see the results, but you got to keep going, and it's going to surprise you years down the line.
Yeah, it takes discipline, and if you can do discipline in one aspect of your life, it'll reflect in other aspects of your life as well.
I mean, absolutely. It's like, there's no way that I could be self-employed right now if I didn't like have that discipline that I learned through fitness, right? So it's like, before I always wanted to be self-employed. Like, I always thought it would be doing something creative, but I just never really maybe had the full confidence or the discipline to do that. But now I do. And it's just like, life is amazing when you can do the things that you kind of set yourself out to do.
I love that. So this is a part of the show where I ask the guest a random question. Okay. So my list of questions is like always growing. I'm at 29 questions now. So the question may or may not have anything to do with what we talked about today. So just pick a number between 1 and 29, and I'll read that question off to you.
All right. Let's pick number 12.
Number 12. Favorite flavor of ice cream. What is your favorite flavor?
Yeah. So, this is relevant because Baskin Robbins is closing apparently.
What?
That's what I had heard. But who knows? I feel like businesses always say that they're going to go out of business, but then you see them around for the next 5 years. And I'm like, what happened? I thought you announced a bankruptcy. So I don't know how that works. But when I was younger, I used to love like their bubblegum ice cream that had like real bubblegum in it. But like I was a kid, so I didn't really know what to do with the gum. So like half the time I just like swallow it. So I like swallowed so much gum from the Baskin Robbins bubblegum flavor. And 2 years ago, when I was on a road trip with my friends, and it was like one of the best vacations I've ever had in my life, we all went to the grocery store to buy ice cream for this movie night we were just going to have at our like really crazy Airbnb. And there was like the Baskin Robbins bubblegum ice cream there. And I like freaked out because I'm like, wow, I haven't had this for years. And I just kind of joked. I'm like, do I honor my younger self and swallow the gum, or do I spit it out now?
Oh, well, no, spit it out. Spit it out.
Yeah, I spat it out.
Okay. I used to love that. What I would do was I would take the bubble gum, suck all the ice cream off, and then set it to the side, eat the rest of the ice cream, and then chew like this big wad of gum. Yeah.
I would do that too. It took me a while to get there before I like realized, that's probably the smarter thing to do.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being a guest on the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story.
Yeah, no, this was fun. Thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you for listening to today's show. Once again, I'm your host. My name is Sean Aaron. Be sure to be sure to share this show out with folks in your networks. If you would like to connect with us, be sure to follow us on Instagram or Facebook. You can also visit our website at dembois.org. That's DEMBOIS.org. If you think you will make a great guest on the show, or maybe you have a question for myself or a future guest that you would like to hear answered on the show, please send an email to hello@dembois.org. That's HELLO@dembois.org. Until next time, take care.